All right, y'all. Today we're going to take a look at this boudoir photography business. Go and check out its local search, its city search, and we're going to see if it's got BSS, yes or no. So we're back here in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More about that, pinned video, pinned post, somewhere around here. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our white FSIC graph here down below. On the left side, we get the highest intent peeps, people searching, for boudoir photography, shoot in their city right now. They're searching on Google, they're searching on social media. We care about getting in front of these peeps, so we're talking about BSS here in all these videos. And over on the right, get the lowest intent peeps. Talk about those, our sister channel with the YFB ad doctor. We're talking about BLCS, and we're currently over there only working with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand per month in boudoir Facebook ads. Now, BSS, boudoir search sameness, that's when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google. 0 slots is terrible. That means we're on page 2 or deeper, and we already have the data. We already know. Approximately 80% of Google searches never, ever even hit page 2. They're page 1 and done searches. So if we're got 0 slots, page 1, we're visible to approximately 80% of the market, aka the bulk of the market. If we go 1 slot on page 1, that's not good either. Everyone else on page 1 to get at least 1 slot as well. So we're blending in, we're invisible. And guess what a boudoir buyer is going to do? They're going to be clicking, everyone's link going down. Well, at least approximately 80% of the buyers will be doing that, clicking everyone's link going down, stay on page 1 only. So we're only going to be compared to the peeps on page 1. And they're going to be filling out everyone's contact form, getting pricing, comparing pricing, blah, 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 blah. Destroying our margins, negotiating, wasting our time. We're probably only going to get like 10% of contact form fill outs to, convert with us. And 0-1 slots on page 1 Google is actually not normal. It's a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. So it's common, it's accepted, but to have such a few number of page 1 links, it's not normal. Those 2 deeper root causes are 1, market saturation, and 2, the false belief of page 1 equality. Market saturation, basically everyone knows about this. People get new gear, new iPhone, new camera, and then they're posting up their Google My Business profile, saying they now shoot boudoir. They got their website saying they're now boudoir photographer. They're posting the mom groups, saying they now shoot boudoir photo shoots. And so it's, more boudoir photographers, more sellers for the same number of buyers, which means prices come down across the board, makes it harder for every other boudoir photographer to operate. Now, second, the false belief of page 1 equality. This is a new one. Most boudoir photographers don't even know about this one, but this is kind of the automatic acceptance or belief that, a boudoir photographer with their website, gets at least 0 or, gets 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google. And that's kind of basically auto accepted, the same for everyone. And so if someone was, page 1 slot 10, then some market saturation happened and they went down to, page 2 slot 2. And it's like, oh, well, that's the game, that's how it is. And they're thinking, okay, hopefully Google, hopefully those people delete their websites and Google de-indexes them. So maybe Google will bring us back up onto page 1. But this is 100% the wrong mindset, the incorrect mindset, because what we have learned through testing is that Google actually gives us as many page 1 slots as possible as we want to put in the effort to acquire. And I know this because I went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 Google search to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 Google search in only 10 days using this new methodology we discovered. Now, yeah, so that's false belief page 1 equality. This is actually the #1 killer of boudoir photography businesses because it kind of resigns the boudoir photographer to take no action because people didn't know they can take as many page 1 slots in Google as they wanted. We also know that boudoir photographer with BSS, boudoir search sameness, is a disappearing boudoir photographer, a DBP. So remember, BSS, boudoir search sameness, having 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google. So if a boudoir photographer has BSS, they got 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google, that means they're disappearing fast if they're page 2 or deeper, or they're disappearing slowly if they do got 1 slot on page 1 because they're still essentially invisible, not standing out at all. And if they're a disappearing boudoir photographer, that's the the warning light, the red flag, the flashing warning, the canary in the coal mine telling them, hey, your boudoir photography business itself is on the path to disappearing here. But thankfully, we now have a solution because we have discovered that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S cubed methodology. And we know this because we discovered this. This is exactly what I used to go from 0 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google, to 9 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google in only 10 days. And it works exactly as the name says, social search saturation. We saturate social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords, so we show up there when peeps search those on social media. And it serves two functions. Second function is kind of, it's acting like snow up at the top of the Andes Mountains down there in South America on the eastern side, the backside of those mountains. When that snow melts, which is melting all the time, the water drains into, melts into small streams, small rivers, and eventually it all collects into the large Amazon River. The large Amazon River is Google page one search, but it all flows, it all starts with the inputs of SQ methodology, saturating social search to enable us to saturate Google page one search. An interesting thing about SQ methodology, it's the only solution I've seen for boudoir photographers that can enable a boudoir photography business to actually still grow in the face of growing and increasing market saturation over time, and give them this opportunity in a relatively quick time frame. The only other option for this would be, kind of get this benefit, would be to have a large, well-known brand to fight back against market saturation, but that doesn't satisfy the relatively quickly criteria, because having a well-known brand, dude, that takes like 5 to 10 years. We ain't got 5 to 10 years, dude. AI's here taking people's jobs. We don't have the time anymore. We need, a chance at much faster results. And actually, with my estimates, SQ methodology can speed up actually creating a large, well-known brand by approximately 8x faster than all the normal methods, because we're actually going to be seeing way more higher volume across many more surfaces and in many more searches. So that's where the approximately 8x faster estimate comes from. All right, so an example of SQ methodology. Right now, I'm deciding that we're going to Dallas, Texas, and there are 1 million boudoir photographers there. And we are one of them. Everyone has a boudoir photography website. And as a result, everyone's trying to super competitive, rank page one on Google, ultra competitive. We're realizing like, man, we ain't got no large, well-known brand. So, our only solution to compete here is to, crank up S cubed methodology to the max. And so we do that, and we literally get shown in the first 300 slots social search for highest intent boudoir buyer keywords in our city. Those flow onto Google. Let's say we also get, first 300 slots page one, or first 300 slots Google search, and it's 10 organic slots per page Google search. So we're taking out basically the first 30 pages. And so basically anywhere boudoir buyer looks, they got to scroll like, basically 301 slots to find basically find one of our competitors, and that'd be, page 31 on Google. And as a result, since we're basically all like they can find, then whose business is growing in this scenario? Most likely ours. Whose businesses are, slowing down, disappearing, going extinct? Most likely our 999,999 boudoir photographer competitor businesses. And so this is kind of an extreme example of what SQ methodology could enable at like the most extreme end for a boudoir photography business. Now, once you're with SQ methodology, we have page one visibility. Initial benefit, yeah, we get more slots page one Google search, and every time we get a new page one Google search, we get the second benefit is we're kicking competing boudoir photographers off page one, effectively making them invisible. So actually, through our effort, we can decide how many of our competitors in our area, in our city, are relegated to page two or deeper. And since we know approximately 80% of Google searches never even hit page two, effectively make them invisible to the approximately 80% of the marketplace, so the bulk of the marketplace, and put their business on the path to disappearing. Now, page one visibility activates Boudoir search visibility for us. This is where the GBC universe actually recommends having a minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page one Google search. That's a minimum, not a maximum. That's because basically everyone else on page one Google search will have 1 slot. So if we got 3, we're dominating them right away. And the ultra rare case, someone has 2 slots, well, our 3 slots is dominating them as well. So we want to hit 3 out of 10 minimum for all the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords. We also know that boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So we got our micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness has 0, 1 slots page one Google search. This is caused by the dual horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. That's fine. We now have the solution S cubed methodology. We achieve page one visibility. We become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, y'all. Now my results utilizing this technology. So I want to dominate page one Google search for this keyword, BLCS boudoir. And so I went to work purely using S cubed methodology and let's see my results. Got organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So in 10 days, I went from 0 out of 10 slots page one Google search to 9 out of 10 slots page one Google search, purely utilizing S cubed methodology. Now, all right, main event here. Let's see if this boudoir photography business has BSS for its its local search and its city search. Also going to see if it is hitting the recommended GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page one on Google. All right, so we're going to Rancho Cordova, California. All right, so here we go. We're in Rancho Cordova, California. And let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. No, that doesn't count. All right, so we got 0 out of 10. So we got BSS for our local search, and we are not hitting the GBC recommended minimum 3 out of 10 slots page one on Google. We're going to go to our city search now, larger city search, Sacramento, California. Let's check out here. Let's see. All right, we got 1. Boom. Nice. City's always harder than local. So, all right, we got 1 out of 10. And let's see. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 local. So we do still got BSS for that one. All right, so final result, we got, so local, we got 0 out of 10. So we got BSS. City, we got 1 out of 10. We also have BSS, and for both, we did not hit the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page one on Google. So if you are a disappearing boudoir photographer, so you've done the BSS search for local and for city for yourself, and you are you're saying you either got BSS or you're not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page one on Google, and you've seen S cubed methodology, like, wow, that is exactly what I need. That's what I want. That's what I've been waiting for. Kind of solve this, kind of dominate page one, which honestly is kind of secondary benefit. Kicking our competitors off page one is probably the most important thing. Getting them to page 2, where they're invisible to approximately 80% of Google searches. And you're saying, okay, S cubed methodology, you decide, okay, that can get you there. And the you understand page, the false belief of page one quality is exactly that, a false belief. So you're like, okay, now we can break through kind of mental barrier and see what are the solutions after to take as many page one slots on Google, as I want to put in the effort to acquire. And you understand market saturation, basically new gear, new people coming into Boudoir, new websites, new people competing on page one, yeah. But you're also looking ahead, seeing AI is going to take more and more people's jobs. And since everyone's got a smartphone with an awesome camera, it's actually going to force more and more boudoir photographers into the market than potentially ever, just because AI is going to be so widespread. So you're thinking ahead. You like the initial benefits of boudoir, where basically or at least you like the initial benefits of getting more slots page one on Google, kicking out more boudoir photographers off page one on Google, and you also like that SQ methodology can actually fortify your position in the new boudoir peeps coming into the marketplace. And so you're seeing, okay, SQ methodology can help fortify that position as well, kind of like building up the levees for New Orleans, Louisiana, to keep the ocean out because New Orleans is below sea level. And you want to achieve page one visibility. You want to become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility because you need those things in order to become #1 boudoir photographer in your city. And you're also thinking ahead to the extended future benefits, which is kind of the more that we execute S-cubed correctly every single day, we're building up these kind of invisible thematic keyword columns attached to our brand, attached to our business, attached to our kind of like invisible mindshare for AI mindshare. And that actually increases the probability that we are brought up in this AI overview premium placement. This probability increases every day we run S-cubed methodology correctly. And this is a premium placement. And also to increase the probability that AI search recommends this, ChatGPT search and Claude search, Perplexity search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini. Because I remember the last time I looked for a boudoir photographer in a city, they only recommended me 3. And I went on Google to look at that city, like actually how many options exist. There's about 60. So I was like, dude, we gotta figure out a way to get on here. So you're also seeing S-cubed methodology is the best way to get that done. And you're also seeing, since we be on all these social platforms, dominating the social search, we can create a brand much faster, which is really just kind of like momentum mindshare. And you're also seeing that you decide to be a first mover advantage and be the first one in your city to utilize S-cubed methodology because my current plan is to only work with one boudoir photographer for your city. So that enables you to kind of box out all your competitors from using this. So you're saying you can get super ahead with all these slots page one on Google, all this momentum of, basically all this momentum of kind of this invisible thematic keyword column mindshare, and really put a large amount of distance between yourself and all your competitors. And conversely, if one of your competitors works with me instead, you understand you'd have to go and rederive or derive for the first time S-cubed methodology. And then you'd have to then go execute it at the same rate as me and your competitor each day. And you probably wouldn't feel comfortable putting that much time in because you'd never be 100% confident that you've even derived it or rederived it correctly in the first place. And then at that point, even if you equal our effort, our output, you would simply be maintaining the gap we've already built between you. You have to actually double or triple our output to kind of close that gap and gain on us and kind of pull back those thematic keyword, invisible thematic keyword columns from kind of AI mindshare we're acquiring. You'd have to pull that momentum away from us. And like, dude, who's got 80 hours a day to do all this? Who's got 80 hours a day? Nobody. So you've decided, screw that. You've already decided you're gonna be the first one to actually, the first one in your city to utilize this. So you can get all these initial benefits and future benefits. So that's you. Shoot me a DM. The hospital is currently closed, but if you actually, when I do open DMs for new patient intake, shoot me a DM then, and we'll see if you qualify for utilizing our S-cubed methodology.